Good evening, everyone. Welcome to FGMeCast for your Thursday night. And Thursday night means ANZCAR Cup is back on the airways. We had a week off last week, but when we did run the week prior, we saw Andrew Dyson take out the win at Sonoma. Tonight we head to Nashville, which is a brand new track on the iRacing platform. We were there last night with the Xfinity Thunder Series, and what fantastic racing we saw. If you haven't seen that one, jump back into it after this live event and have a look on our YouTube channel at that one. You won't be disappointed at all with the finish. So let's jump into the brand new intro we've put together for the ANZCAR Cup Series 4 tonight and get this one underway. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Nashville for the ANZCAR Cup Series on your Thursday night. Nashville for the first time here in the Cup Cars. Of course, we're here last night with the Xfinity Series, and also with me last night was one Mr. Carl Withy. Good evening, Carl.
Good evening, Stuart. Good evening, everybody on FGMeCast. I hope you are doing well. We are here in Music City, Nashville, for the 17th round of the ANZCAR Cup Series tonight. So it's going to be an interesting one. Of course, Nashville has not seen a Cup race since 2011, so it's been a bit of time, but we're expecting a good race here tonight.
Yeah, if anything last, if last night is anything to go by, Carl, we had a really good race there. A few big incidents as well, but generally two-wide racing, nice and close throughout the entirety of that race, and that's what we're expecting to see here tonight, I think.
Yeah, very much so. It will be a little bit different, of course, because these cars have got a lot more power. They'll be running the full 750 horsepower allotted to them with those beautiful big V8 engines. Of course, they got a little bit more aero than the Xfinity car as well. So a little bit more drag, of course, but that can give a little bit more of a draft as well to the cars behind them. We're expecting to see a little bit of trouble for the cars coming out of turns 4 tonight, just because those rears are going to start getting very hot. Track temperature at the moment is sitting at 44 degrees Celsius. Yes, you heard me right there, 44 degrees Celsius on this very hot concrete track. Of course, concrete oval here at Nashville, the biggest concrete oval there is in the calendar now at 2.25 kilometers. So a big long concrete track that's going to be very hot tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Just having a quick look there at the top speed. We're on board there with Edward Foster in the Bridgestone Select entry, and about 8 k's an hour faster than we saw last night without the draft. So I think the speeds we got there last night were in the draft. So without the draft, already 8 k's an hour faster there for Foster in the 53 Bridgestone Select entry. So looking forward to seeing if we get close to that 300k an hour mark with the draft as well, assisting the drivers tonight.
I think we probably will just about see that topping off on the end of the start-finish, not quite straight, but the start-finish tri-oval section. I think we'll just be tapping towards that 300 kilometers per hour mark just as they go into the first corner. This is a very technical track as well. You see it's called a super speedway. Now that is because it's the old classifications of super speedway. So this was a super speedway back in its heyday, but it's been away from the calendar for 10 years. No longer a super speedway in that respect. It's a little bit more like your average cookie cutter track in its length, but it's a very fast circuit. And the other thing about the track as well is you're going to have to brake. So unlike most super speedways we go to, there is braking involved in this one. So you've got to be really careful here. So you've got to get your brake balance right, you've got to get your speed right, you've got to get your exit right. There's a lot to think about when you're driving around this circuit.
Absolutely. So we'll jump into the race here. Of course, we do pre-qualify for this event. Qualifying happens from around about 7:45 to 8 o'clock before we jump on live on the air So we will bring up the grid for you here tonight. And we've got to tell you as well, there's been a number of driver changes in the paddock, some of which were announced tonight on our social media channels via ANZCAR, of course, but we broadcast those announcements. But we'll get into that throughout the course of the race this evening, and we'll get underway here. It was Andrew Dyson taking out pole position again. Dyson having a really, really strong run here. He'll be looking to close this one out tonight and take his first oval win in the Cup Series. Luke Trahair jumps up into second place for him with Michael Skurlock and Ruben Phelps on row 2. We've got Danny G and Josh Micklemore on row 3, followed by Jaden Russell and Hamish Gallagher off 4. We've got Edward Foster and Jason Martin off 5, with Neil Pearson and Philip Worley off row 6. As we roll back here through the grid, it is Ryan Jones, Steve Williams off row 7. Jones had a really good run last night in the Xfinity cars, so watch out for him. Barry Neal and Dave Douglas, who also had a good run last night too, in row 8. We've got Urquio and Anastakis off 9, with Dortnack and Carol Walden off 10. It's Donnelly Griffiths off 11, with Matty Hunter and Norm Clark off 12. As we roll back through this huge field here, it is Nigel Patton, Phil Otto, followed by Raymond Yeager and Matty Raymond, and then we've got Justin Witcher and Paul Jackson rounding out the 30 who qualified for the race this evening.
And just before we head on any further, just going through the championship standings for the top 5. Michael Skurlock's in the lead, 8 points back as Neil Pearson second. Josh Micklemore in third, 11 points down. Jason Martin, 35 points down in fourth. And fourth is Danny G, 53 off the lead. But that championship for the regular season is very, very close indeed. This race is going to really tighten that up.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to tonight.
As Andrew Dyson leads the field around this hot and humid track. He's going to be leading off from Luke Trahair with that new paint job on the 43. Dyson's prerogative is to when he's going to drop the pedal. When's he going to do it? When's he going to do it? He drops it now, gets a good start there. Behind him, Michael Skurlock has got a lightning quick start there. He's going to get a good run on Andrew Dyson, get down underneath Luke Trahair there. Former teammates in Luke Trahair and Michael Skurlock. Danny G getting a good start as Michael Skurlock gets a little bit wobbly there. Danny G just getting through. You can see cars 4, 5 wide in the background. They are everywhere at the moment. People are wanting to get up into a decent place early on in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw there, I think it was in the background, Ryan Jones just getting a little bit wobbly as well. So we went 3 wide out of turn 1. In fact, one of the DPR cars there, that is the number 5, my apologies, number 9 of Neil Pearson there. Also getting a little bit squirrely. That's that heat on the concrete that you're talking about, Carl, in the pre-race, affecting the drive here for the guys as we get well and truly into this one, onto lap 2 already. And it is Andrew Dyson with a cracking start. He's already 2 tenths out in front. Michael Skurlock equally had a really strong performance here last night, finishing 3rd. So he will be looking to convert. We've got Danny G, Luke Trahair in 3rd and 4th. Jaden Russell in his another run for him up in the top game. And again, another strong performance last night. I'll keep saying the same thing over and over again, but all these guys at the front, it's no coincidence that they're back up here again tonight. We're talking with Dave Douglas in the practice session, and he said the cars here tonight are driving very, very similar to the Xfinity cars in terms of the setup. Really hard on that right-hand front tyre, but a little bit of translation from the race last night into tonight for the Cup guys.
Yeah, that's it. There's going to be some similarities there because you do get that with these cars, but the difference is going to be that little bit of extra downforce on these cars is going to make it a little bit easier mid-corner, but that extra power is going to make it a lot harder on the exit of the turns. You can see right behind Andrew Dyson at the moment, Michael Skurlock in the Welsh Wonder car is chasing down Dyson at the moment. He's got a little bit of damage on the front actually, Skurley, so I think he's just made a tiny bit of contact with the wall. One of the things to watch out for is just coming out of this corner here, turn number 4, coming onto the tri-oval section. Very, very tricky corner, very easy to lose the rear end of the car, so you've got to be careful coming through that corner. Coming into turn 1s and 2 here, so you just need to ease off a little bit, just on the brakes a little bit, back on the accelerator. It's not too hard to get off that corner, it's a relatively easy one. Onto the short back straight into turns 3 and 4, back on the brakes again. Through this corner, it's very easy for that car to step out. You can see Skurlock just starting to make a move on Dyson now. Skurley's got the inside line for the lead of this race. Skurley's going to get a good run across the tri-oval here and get the lead of the race at Nashville.
Yeah, that's that section there where you thought we might see him get close to 300 in the draft. Skurley there just nipping at 295 kilometres an hour as he moved up into the lead here with Andrew Dyson now running second. You know what, we saw a really good stretch of green flag running last night. I'm not sure that it's a bad thing that Dyson's dropped back into second place. We saw a couple of the guys have to drop in early. Edward Foster dropped into pit lane well and truly ahead of those who ran behind him to make the final pit stop last night, and obviously that ended up with him finishing a little further down than he expected. So not necessarily the worst thing for Dyson here to drop back a few places this early on in the race.
No, that's it. I think at the moment, Skurlock is just flying away a little bit. He's just got the pace at the moment, and he is very much looking for that. Another driver that's got some speed is Jaden Russell down there in 4th position, and just behind Danny G at the moment. Jaden Russell was getting some good drive. He was just clipping out at that 300 mark on the end of the straight, so he's definitely got some good speed and there's some good drive, and it's getting very close between those guys, so it is going to be fast and furious down there. But at the moment, Skurlock has checked out a little bit. He's managed to pull himself a little bit of a lead by about half a second at the moment, so that's going to be good news for him. He can just have a little bit of an easy time, not pushing quite as hard, but fuel is going to be a major factor here tonight. We did see that last night as well. You're just going to want to make sure you got that fuel numbers correct, got the fuel in at the right time. You want to get a caution sort of midway through the race where you can actually fill up to the end and be in a position where a caution flag pit stop rather than coming in and then having to pit under green as well.
Yeah, Edward Foster's got a little bit of pace here. He's searching behind Danny G. He's got Luke Trahere behind him in that new livery on the 43, which makes it a little bit easier for us to pick him out, to be brutally honest. So that little train there developing between Danny G, Foster and Trahere. You can see in the background there as well, Ryan Jones, Josh Mickelmore fighting it out. And they've lost a little bit of pace on this pack, but one of the things we saw last night as well, too, very, very different ways to make pace around this track with the entry and exit speed. So Jones, they're closing up a little bit, choosing that quick entry, but not able to carry that pace through the corner. So he'll make his way back up onto the back here of Trahere in a matter of a lap or so, and they'll be forming that pack that we like, that sort of 10 to 12 car pack that we get to watch, where you know, the positions are changing frequently and we get to enjoy a really good, clean driving battle for a fair portion of the race.
Yeah, these guys are just getting settled in now, just trying to work out how the long runs are going to go. Foster's looking a little bit racy behind Danny G at the moment. Jaden Russell's still sitting there behind Andrew Dyson, but Foster was having a little bit of a look down on Danny G's inside there, just trying a little bit of a different line from him as well. So, as you said, drivers trying that different style, a few going slow in, fast out, a few sort of carrying a little bit more speed into the corner. But that's what makes it very fun on a track like this, because you can carry those two different styles and they both generally work.
As we said there's Ryan Jones now up on the back of Trahere, so this pack extends now to 6 cars in it, and Jones aggressive down on the inside there, as we normally see from Ryan Jones. He's going to get the move done on Trahere. Oh, he gets right up next to him there. Has to give him a little bit of room as well. Trahere just makes sure that he plays the long game here, but you can see there Ryan Jones just being really aggressive, as we love to see from him. And he makes another move there. That actually has affected Trahere a little bit now, because Micklemore's up on the back of him, and as is Hamish Gallagher. A couple of DPR cars behind him as well, with Philip Worley and Neil Pearson. And this battle here, Dave Douglas, Ruben Phelps and Stephen Williams. So this pack is massively expanding at a rate of knots. You can see these guys closing up too.
Yeah, it's getting very, very tight up there. That was a real tight move from Ryan Jones there. Really, really aggressive on Luke Trahere, and it really put Luke up on that high line and cost him dearly. I'm just going back and actually having a check out of Ruben Phelps, because he dropped right down the order. He got caught very much on that high line and fell off quite a bit. So he's going to have to work his way up. He's up there with Dave Douglas in the 199. Keep an eye out for Dave, because we've seen he can be very quick, especially towards the end of a stint. We saw he had a mega fuel save last night as well, and Riley Curtis as well. Very much enjoying the look of that new car, that beautiful new paint job on Dave Douglas's 199, looking fantastic in the Nashville, Tennessee sun at the moment, as there's a bit of a checkup just behind him with Stephen Williams.
Yeah, indeed, and Dave was saying that he's ruining his qualifying performances at the moment, because he's got the pace in practice, just can't quite get that lap down. We saw that as well with Phelps. He was able to convert yesterday with a much better outcome from his qualifying. So Douglas just trying to sort that out. Once he does get that done, you know, he's going to be right up the front battling from the start, which is where he wants to be. You can see him driving away from this this horde of cars behind him here. We've got, again, another battle pack here. This is for effectively 13th, 14th, 15th position, 2 wide running down in the pack, and the pack just keeps growing with Mirko Dordenak joining in to this pack as well. Parianastakis, Lachlan Urquio, so it's growing.
Yeah, nice to see Parianastakis back in the Cup. He's been away for a couple of weeks. Good to see him back out there. That pack is just going to grow and grow and grow as cars just catch up to them as they are fighting on. Meanwhile, up the front, Jaden Russell is still trying to put the move on Andrew Dyson, and that's just allowed Danny G and Edward Foster just get stabilised behind them. So those guys are going to start catching up relatively quickly. Meanwhile, Ryan Jones has had a pass put on him by Luke Trahair. Luke Trahair paid back the favour on Ryan Jones and got that position back. Ryan just running up a little bit wide gave Luke the chance to make the move down low and get the opportunity to get past. Hamish Gallagher working his way up the field as well. He dropped off a little bit at the start, but he's working his way back up there now. Watch out for Hamish. He had some really good pace last night along with his teammate Josh Micklemore, so keep an eye out on those 2 Mitch Motorsport cars. Of course, we've also got Danny G up in the top 5 at the moment in one of the other Mitch Motorsport cars, and somewhere in there we should find Jason Martin. He's down in 20th at the moment, so a bit further down than normal for Jason in the final Mitch Motorsport car, but expect him to work his way up the field later in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Riley Curtis jumping into the chat tonight to say that he's very impressed, to paraphrase, with the new livery on the 199 of Dave Douglas. That got a little bit of airtime today on the socials as well. Dave here just jumping onto the back of the pack there, and there he is in that lockdown 199 livery. It does look very, very impressive indeed. He loves running those matte gold wheels as well, and we like what he's done there. So a nice one for Dave as he flies solo for the balance of the season, announced today across the social network.
Yeah, whoever worked on the design of that car has got a very good eye for detail indeed. Meanwhile, another new paint job is at the front of the field with Michael Skurlock with the Buck Wild Welsh racing car, of course. Scully pulling on some of his heritage in the 350 today with the Welsh Dragon on the back of the car, of course, and also promoting himself a little bit with his Twitch channel, twitch.tv Skurlikin, of course. A lot of the drivers do run a few different channels out there, so after the race, if you want to see what it's like from their point of view, it's always a fun thing to have a bit of a look at and see how they go when they do their broadcasts.
Yeah, there'd be plenty of laughs on that channel, I imagine, given the entertainment factor that Skurly provides in the group Discord outside of the racing itself. So good social group there as Neil Pearson gets the job done now. Ryan Jones, maybe Jonesy just with the temperature there, maybe he's just slightly overcooked those that right hand front tyre. That's affecting him here, because now that's Trahair, Gallagher and Pearson who made their way past. You can see there as well that Philip Worley's trying to take advantage. Josh Micklemore will try and go through with him and probably drag Dave Douglas through at the same time. So Ryan Jones here just a little bit susceptible. Lap 24 of now, we've commenced lap 23 I should say now, of 140 here, and all green so far.
Yeah, that's it. Just burning off a little bit of the tyre, a little bit quicker than he expected maybe, and just falling down a little bit, as we've got a huge battle pack down for 17th onwards, effectively. Kate Donnelly and Kate Donnelly up towards the front of that one at the moment with Parianastakis. Those guys are really getting racy down towards the back end of the pack, so there is plenty of action going on all throughout the field. Meanwhile, just talking about Ryan Jones, he's falling back into the grasps of Dave Douglas. Dave Douglas is just getting on his tail. Ryan Jones just slotting in between himself and Josh Micklemore at the moment, trying to get caught into those two cars so he doesn't fall back too quickly. But Dave Douglas has caught up a lot of time very quickly to this front pack, so keep an eye on for Dave. He's starting to quickly get up there.
Yeah, JCW as well, just behind him, biggest mover so far tonight, up 7 spots, qualifying position of 20th. Currently sitting 13th, and he's closing in on this pack too. So everyone here sort of holding one another up. We're talking just before about how we've got that stable pack at the front who've just managed to sort themselves out a little bit and get into the groove. This pack has been certainly trying to sort themselves out for 25 laps, and it continues.
Yeah, and it will continue. We're going to get towards the stages where people will start thinking about green flag pit stops probably in about the next 10 laps, 10, 15 laps, I would say. They'll start pondering about looking at coming in. I'd probably say one of the cars that's going to look at coming in early would be Ryan Jones. He's often the forerunner of that slightly alternate strategy.
Absolutely, indeed. So, how far ahead is Skurlock now? Just approaching a second out in the lead here from Andrew Dyson, Jaden Russell. And Dyson and Russell still sort of just stabilised but fighting away. I tell you what, Foster's closed up on the back of Danny G as well. So that has really closed up there as well. It's Luke Trahere joining him, just gradually dragging his way up onto the back of Foster. Hamish Gallagher will be trying to go with him as well. They've got to make up some time. Probably had to push a little harder to get through that pack as well, so that might have cost them. And I don't think too many of these drivers would be too upset if they ended up with a caution period in around about 20 laps time or so.
Yeah, that's it. Dave Douglas getting a big moment across the tri-oval section. He managed to get the car saved, but that's going to hurt his rear tyres. I was about to say, there's a good little battle forming up behind Josh Micklemore at the moment. Neil Pearson just dropping back behind Joshy Micklemore. But this battle's starting to get a little bit hotter as well. So it's going to get interesting here as the race goes on. Watch on for this race because things are going to get exciting towards the end. We're going to you might have a little bit of a lull period at the moment, but it is going to start heating up very shortly. Once these guys start to have to come in for those green flag stops, things are going to start getting very, very dicey out on the track. So this race has got a lot to go still. Yeah,
it looked like there's a little bit of a check up there from Josh Micklemore, which sort of stopped Worley, and at the same time you had Douglas with that slide as well, and that allowed Jones to get right up onto the back of Worley with the check up, but not able to capitalise because I think he was a bit surprised at how quickly Worley was coming towards him. Had to jump on the anchors and just pull up the 111 entry to make sure he didn't have any contact there. So not ideal there for Jonesy. He would have been liking to try and make up a position there from the mistake, but not able to capitalise on it.
Yeah, that's it. Something else just to keep an eye on is Hamish Gallagher at the moment. He seems to be having some sort of technical issue. He's having a bit of internet issues, I would say. He's just been having a couple of blinks here and there, so hopefully everything pans out for him. We don't want to see him disappearing with a technical DNF because Mitch Motorsport have had those troubles all for a fair bit of time as Neil Pearson gets moved on by Josh Micklemore at the moment. Micklemore going down the inside of Pearson in the number 9. The 31 is going to try and make the move. He's got that inside line at the moment. Pearson's going to have a good run on the outside here. That's going to allow Worley just to get up a little bit further. Ryan Jones now making the move on Worley as well. So these guys are going to have that inside line. Worley's going to get a good run down inside. He might better make a move on his teammate Neil Pearson right here, but that's going to block off Ryan Jones's chance to make the move. Josh Micklemore making that move stick. He's going to get a nice run out there, and I think Micklemore's got some pace to burn at the moment. Neil Pearson just seems to be slightly struggling for overall pace right now.
You know, it looks like it's come back a little bit to Jones as well. He's really pacey on the back of Pearson. He was able to go with Worley there, but just got cut off. Worley closing that out on right in front of him. Just underneath Pearson there, almost getting in contact with him. That's allowed Dave Douglas to get a good run on him down on that bottom line, but Jones is looking a little bit pacey here as well. So the cars come back to him a little bit now on lap 33 of 140. Dave Douglas alongside him down on that low line. He's going to probably get the job done. JCW closing up on the back as well in the 35. FGMeCast entry, if you don't mind, for Natari Autosport. So this pack continues to grow here. Just no chance that these guys are going to settle and just maintain a position for 10 or so laps. I can also tell you up the front that Luke Trahere has closed right up on the back of Edward Foster. Foster here on Danny G, and Jaden Russell still tight riding on the back of Andrew Dyson in the 41 entry or the 041 entry as well. So the battle up the front here, we've just got a little blink there from Jaden Russell too. We don't like to see that, but hopefully he can continue on without problem.
Yeah, fingers crossed there is not an issue. So a little bit of issue last night for Jaden, actually. So I think that might be a continuing one. Of course, if you are new to the ANZCAR series and the ANZCAR Cup especially, it is a 30-car field locked for the racing, just to keep incidents down and make sure the races run as smooth as possible, of course. And this is the top end of the ANZCAR series, of course. So we've got the Xfinity for Thunder on Wednesdays and the Truck Series on Monday nights to help drivers get their way and work their way up to the Cup Series, of course, and get into the top end of oval racing for the Australian oval racing drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously the calendar here copies the real life NASCAR world, so we do run a full year-long calendar for the drivers for the championship with the chase and everything else. So if you are new, have a look on the social pages, and certainly the top tier or premier tier of Australian oval track racing is the ANZCAR series. So if you're looking to get involved, best place to start is to jump on the ANZCAR Facebook page, have a look at the truck series, and that's where you get your entry and move your way up through the Thunder series and into the top tier.
Yeah, very much so. It's a good way of working your way up, and it's a good way of getting a bit of experience under your belt as well, because these guys race very, very hard, and some of them are very quick indeed. Skurlock at the moment is the quickest guy out there, although last time ran Andrew Dyson set a very fast lap, but Skurlock has a good 1 second lead at the moment over Dyson, so Skurly is really pulling away at the moment. He's managing that gap as well, so he's not pulling away hand over fist, but he's just keeping that gap nice and managed at this time. So he's not pushing too hard now, he's just settling in, just got a nice bit of breathing room so he doesn't have to push too hard. So watch how Skurlock does for the rest of this race, and this can only help him if it remains green.
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, he's going to lose that gap very, very quickly. Danny G here, just taking a slightly different line. We haven't seen too many drivers run that higher line with much success last night, and obviously so far this night with the heat. Probably not expecting to see that either, but see how the track develops over the course of the race, because we're not even halfway through yet in this 140 lap race. So what was it, Carl? We said 59 or so laps is going to be about the capacity for fuel.
59, I think it was going to be about 55 to 60 laps, I think, off the top of my head. That's the sort of rough numbers I was getting in my little pre-practice that I try and run before the race starts. But you might see drivers coming in to slap a fresh set of tyres on before that, because the big determining factor might be those those right side tyres, so they could be a determining factor tonight. Of course, drivers are set to a limit of 4 sets of tyres, so they don't have an infinite amount of tyres to run through the evening, so they do have to pace it out a little bit. But expect the drivers to go as long as they can if it remains green, but keep an eye on people like Ryan Jones coming in, I'd probably say in about 5 to 10 laps, to come and get some fresh tyres on and see if he can see what he can do. Of course, he'll be he might split the race up into a 2-stop, whereas everybody else will try and get it into a 2-3 stop maybe for our Jones, where everybody else might try and get it into a 1 to 2 stop. So it just depends how they go on the old fuel mileage. That's the big question for this race, and we will find that out when we start seeing people come down pit lane.
Absolutely, so it won't be too far away. Hamish Gallagher there just dropping out for a significant portion of time, popping back into the race on the higher line, which is what the drivers try to do if that sort of happens to them. And hopefully he can keep going. Let's keep the fastest drivers out there. Speaking of which, just looking in the background there, it looked like JCW was trying to get a move done potentially around the outside of Ryan Jones, but it's cost him a little bit of time there, and it's allowed Lachlan Urquio to close up onto the back of him. So that's the battle there for position 13 and 14 that's closed right up. Dave Douglas on the back of Neil Pearson, still up ahead of this battle. Ryan Jones at the moment a little bit in no man's land. He's catching up onto the back of Dave Douglas, probably with the worst tyres on the track at this stage. Ryan does drive a hard race. He likes to push the car, and sometimes it can be to the detriment of the tyres when we get these prolonged green sections of the race. We love the way he tries to get about it.
Yeah, we've got another good battle going on down with Ruben Phelps, Scott Griffiths and Matty Raymond at the moment, and Raymond Yeager actually coming up into the midst of this battle too. So the 06, the number 5, the 83 and the 23 at the moment having a good little battle out on track. And this is for 21st, 22nd, 23rd and 24th position, so a bit further down than we're used to seeing some of these guys. But it just shows how competitive it is out there tonight. We often see Matty Ray come from the back of the grid, try and get his way up towards the front, and he's struggling a little bit at the moment to make places. Up towards the front though, JCW and Lachlan Urquio are battling it out there side by side at the moment. Lockie has managed to get his position sort of safe, but JCW is trying his best to get there. Gets caught up on that high line. You're going to have to keep on that black bit of track. You can see on the track discoloration there, and that's where the tyres are the grippiest, of course. That's the racing line. This track surface, of course, is concrete as well, so it's a bit different to your normal tracks because it's not an asphalt material. It is solid concrete out there, so very different kind of grip levels here. Very different kind of track surface to run on as well, and that can catch you out as Ryan Jones comes into pit lane.
Yeah, you called it, Carl. You said he was going to probably pit a little early, try and get the undercut done here as well. Maybe hope for a caution period so he can a little bit later on, so that he can get up to the front as well. So Jonesy here, good start to the race, but he's going to have to get on with it and hope for a bit of luck from here.
Yeah, that's it. He wants to have a clean run for the next 10, 15 laps or so, as I see Josh Micklemore coming in as well, I think. So Josh Micklemore coming in as well. So he's decided he's going to come in as well as Jason Martin. So I think Mitch Motorsport boys have been keeping an eye on this one. They've seen that this race is running pretty well at the moment. It looks like it's going to be green for a bit of time. And they've decided to gamble a little bit early on with this one. Get those fresh tyres on, get the undercut going, and get a jump on some of the cars around them.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen that strategy work very, very well in the past. Dave Douglas has also jumped into pit lane in the 199 entry as well, so he's abiding by that strategy, as has Steve Williams in the DPR 98 entry, current Truck Series champion from Season 1 2021. So he is just going to run that same strategy there of running in early, trying to get some clean air and get some advantage there. Who's that down on the low line there?
Jaden Russell, he's coming into pit lane. So Jaden Russell coming in. So, Jaden Russell locking his rears up there, coming into pit lane. He might have copped a penalty for that one. I have to say, Michael Scarlett losing a bit of time in the 350, so he's dropping time to Andrew Dyson behind him at quite a fast rate of knots. He's lost about half a second to the car behind him, so you can see visually that gap is getting a little bit closer. I think Danny G is going to be coming in very shortly. So I think everybody's starting just to cover Ryan Jones off more than anything. I think that's the main thing, is Danny G just slowing that car up a little bit earlier than Luke Trahare would have wanted. That would have cost Luke a little bit of time there. Michael Skurlock into pit lane as well. Andrew Dyson sticking it out there at the moment with Hamish Gallagher and Philip Worley. So those guys are going to stay out there for a bit of time. Neil Pearson, Lachlan Urquio, Parry Anastakis as well out there in the top runners. So now a question of how much longer can they go? How much more fuel have they got in the car? And how much more do they want to risk sticking it out there, of course?
Yeah, I think Daiso here will try and probably run a couple more laps just to see if he can make up a little bit of the gap now that he is free of pressure. He had some good runs early on, but just dropped back a little bit early, and Skirley was able to run away with it for a while, so he's probably just going to enjoy a little bit of freedom here, and wouldn't be surprised to see him go around for a couple more laps before he decides to jump in, just depending on the time variation, of course, because we know fresh tyres means that they're going to close in. So we'll keep an eye on him, see how he gets on. Hamish Gallagher now in second at the moment, with Worley and Pearson behind him too. So the time variation, we've got 31.4 for Andrew Dyson last time around. So waiting to see the first flying lap around. Ryan Jones down in a 30.25, of course. He did pit a few laps ago, so there is a huge difference there. I don't want to leave it out too long, Dyson, because he's going to end up actually losing positions in the changeover.
The thing that Dyson can do, though, is if he leaves it out there a little bit longer, is he will have better tyres later in the stint, so he will get that time back, and he's got some fresh air to take advantage of it at the moment. Ryan Jones has worked his way up right behind Michael Skurlock, so you can see how much time he gained coming in early there. Just a couple of laps difference between those two cars. Michael Skurlock was about 4 laps later than Ryan Jones, and those 4 laps for Ryan Jones has got him right up behind the leader, Jaden Russell, just behind Ryan Jones as well. So you can see right now Scully just getting past Neil Pearson, so they are really flying up there, but they are a lap down, remember. So this is the big thing, is right now, those guys that are staying out, if they get a caution, they are going to be sitting very pretty indeed, because they will have some advantage, because they will have that extra lap to them, because you do lose a bit of time when you come into pit lane. The other thing as well, of course, is when you come out, you're going to have much fresher tyres, and that's going to be a real big advantage later in the stint. We saw Dave Douglas make that work for him last night in the Xfinity Series. Those fresher tyres towards the end of the stint really do pay off. The tyres do start dropping off around about 3 or 4 laps on this track, so you don't get a huge amount of time to enjoy those fresh tyres. But, of course, the fresher the tyre, the easier it is for you.
As we're just on board here with Jones, he had a little squiggle just at the start of when we joined on with him, but he is now just under a second behind Michael Skurlock, who is the field in front of him pits. He's going to be our effective race leader at this point in time, unless someone's short fuels or does something like that to maintain the lead of the race. But we're really looking at 1 and 2 at the moment, Skurlock and Jones, Jaden Russell behind him. So as you said, Carl, 4 laps difference in the tyre life between Jones and Skurlock, with Jones with the older tyres on. But at this point in time, he's pretty happy with the outcome of his undercut.
Yeah, it's worked out well for him, of course, but the trouble is he's going to start feeling that tyre wear a lot quicker than the rest of them. Watch out for Jaden Russell just behind Ryan Jones and Edward Foster. They're going to start catching up to him, and you'll probably notice that Ryan Jones will start falling off in about 2 to 3 laps. He'll start struggling a little bit with those cars behind him. So he's got Jaden Russell all over the back of him, and you can see right there as well, Skurlock has pulled a big gap on Ryan Jones as well. So Skurlock got a lot more pace over Ryan, and Ryan is starting to struggle with Jaden behind him.
Yeah, that gap out to 1.3 seconds as they come up to the back of Andrew Dyson, our race leader, who they're going to unlap themselves now. Jones, Dyson just sliding straight up in the top there. No need to make room for Jaden Russell either, so he has done exactly what he's allowed to do. Russell's had to avoid that. Now it is Edward Foster underneath as well, who's trying to get the job done on Dyson. And he's chose to stay out there. I thought he might duck in now that he's starting to get caught by all these cars unlapping themselves, because he's losing a decent amount of time the longer he stays out. There's been a 31.8 last time around. Edward Foster, who just went past him, to the 30.6. So he's losing 1.2 seconds a lap at the moment. That is huge.
It is, but he has got a fair bit of time in his pocket. The longer he sticks it out there means the longer the more use he's going to get out of those fresh tyres. The one thing it can do is if this race remains green for the whole race, it could affect him later on. So it's that thing of taking that little bit of a risk, and you can see him there just dropping in front of Dave Douglas there. Nice move by Andrew Dyson. Of course, there's no blue flags in oval racing. There's no issue with lapped cars racing the leader. Andrew Dyson at the moment is the leader, and he is effectively racing those cars. Even though they're a lap behind him, he's still racing them for position. So you can block away, you can do whatever you like, just don't crash, that's the main thing. But you are racing no matter what on an oval. So you will see it a lot of the time, if you're new to oval racing, the lapped cars not getting out the way, not jumping out the way for the leader like you see in other forms of motorsport. Because you don't have to. You race for those positions, and as the leader, it's your job to get past the car in front of you. It's not the car in front of you just to let you past.
We hear plenty of complaining about that in virtual circuit racing. People complaining about blue flags not being obeyed and what have you, but in oval racing, you don't need to worry about it at all. Just go about your business. So Andrew Dyson's still doing that at the front of this field.
just jumping back to Ryan Jones, he's just getting passed by Edward Foster at the moment. The 53 down on the inside of the 111 at the moment. You can see now this is where that early pit stop starts to really cost you, because it's only a couple of laps difference between these guys on tyres. Ryan Jones has been out there for 16 laps, Foster for 13 laps, but that's the difference those 3 laps make, and you can see just losing that pace now. He got those early moments of fun on those tyres, but they soon burn away, and Josh Micklemore and Danny G are going to be looking to make a pass soon, as well as Dave Douglas.
Yeah, I was about to say Danny G and Josh Micklemore closing right up now as well. Micklemore won't take long to make his way past Ryan Jones, but in the Delta here, Ryan Jones still going to be further up the field than when he decided to make that early pit stop. So, if he can get a caution out here, he'll reset himself on the same strategy as everyone else, and that will help him improve his position throughout the remainder of this race.
Yeah, that's it. It's the thing of he needs a caution right now to help him out with this one, to get him back on the back in sync effectively. Andrew Dyson would be pretty happy if a caution flag was flown relatively quickly, because that will help his race out. He's still sitting pretty though. He's got a good 20-second gap from himself to Michael Skurlock at the moment, so he's still got quite a bit of time in hand. The longer he leaves it out there, as I say, the more options this gives him for the latter part of the race. So these guys leaving it out there, they might be trying to just eke out the fuel a little bit and maybe go for a single stop strategy, which could pay very well for them if they can make it work. Norman Clark coming into the pit lane right now, so he's pitted, he's pulled the trigger for himself. How much more fuel do these guys have? That's the big question, of course. You can save a bit of fuel in these cars, a couple of laps here and there, but it is quite hard to do when you are racing in green flag conditions. It's not easy to save fuel when racing in the green. Pariana Stakis coming into pit lane as well, so I think these guys are just about hitting the limit on their fuel on around lap 66, 67.
Yeah, absolutely. Neil Pearson, Phil Worley, Andrew Dyson still yet to pit. Matty Hunter, who we're on board with now, battling away with Justin Witcher in the Activity Hub Barley entry. Those guys trying a little bit of a resurgence over the last couple of races as well. The Activity Hub Barley team just improving their results again, which is good to see. So we love having a variety of teams in ANZCAR and having them all perform at the top there as well. Matty Hunter, one of the series organisers here, having a good run at the moment in the 48 as well. Still got a pit, but doing a good job too.
Yeah, if he can eke it out for 2 more laps, he's going to be in a really good position come the end of this race. So this could really pay off for Matty Hunter in the Vision Motorsport car. But yeah, Activity Hub Barley have been having a really good run recently. They've been very, very happy with how things are going, and it's good to see Raymond Yeager back as well, of course, the team leader in the Activity Hub Barley team. So we've got Raymond and Hunter coming in right now, so they've had to pull the trigger. How much more fuel does Dyson have left in that car? That's the question. He needs to make it probably around about another lap or 2 to be comfortable to the end, and you can see him just fuel saving at the moment. He's just dropped right off the pace. He's just coasting that car around at the moment, not putting too much pressure on there, just easing it around to try and use as little fuel as possible, because this could easily get him the win. Same with Philip Worley, he's going to be in a good position as well. Neil Pearson as well out there still. So if they can make it around another, or Dyson coming in, if they can make it another lap, you can see Philip Worley doing it. If they can make it 1 more lap here, then they are going to be right in the box seat towards the end of the race. But Worley is clutching the car around at the moment. I think that car's going to start coughing shortly, because he is very much on the cusp of no fuel. So he is taking it right to the very end, same as Neil Pearson. So those two are going to be able to make it home on this tank.
Yeah, it's actually harder to drive. You see him struggling here to pull the car up. He's going to miss the pit box completely. So he's going to get a drive-through for that. That has cost him huge. On board there with Philip Worley as he missed the entry into pit lane. He'll get a drive-through, unfortunately, for that one. And I was just literally saying that clutching in there, it makes the cars actually a little more difficult to drive, because you've got no engine braking to rely on. and that's going to cost him, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is really painful when that happens. It's one of those things, as you say, you lose that engine braking and you have to rely on the brakes of the car, and these cars don't have the best brakes to begin with.
Do these cars actually have brakes? It's kind of like an old billy car where you drag a wooden stick along the ground to try and slow the car up.
Well, this is why the drivers tend to wear those big cowboy boots, is so they can put them down underneath the car and stop it that way. That's generally the most effective brake in a oval racing car. But yeah, these things have tiny brakes on them, of course, and they're generally set. The brake bias is generally set. It depends how you drive, but a lot of these guys are probably setting it a bit more rearwards for this track. So the rear brakes are pretty pathetic, in all honesty. Even your road car would give them a run for their money. Considering the amount of weight in these cars and the speed, they are barely anything at all. But when you're just relying on the brakes completely, it really does catch you out, and then all of a sudden you get the understeer coming in and things like that. It makes it very hard to drive.
As we're just looking, it was close there between Russell and Foster. That's dropped away as I got into a little bit of traffic. Barry Anastakis just making his way through, as well as Neil Pearson on much fresher tyres against Foster. But Foster's got Danny G behind him. That is for position. These two on screen now. So he'll be pretty pleased with that, actually. And another one who'll be pleased is Dave Douglas. He's up 11 spots now, currently sitting in 5th position.
Yeah, they've got some good positions gained. Dave Douglas, 11 positions gained in this race. I was talking about how hard it is to gain positions. Matty Raymond's currently the highest gainer, sitting in 14th position, gaining 14 positions for Mr. Sheen. He's keeping that car nice and clean, as usual. What we like to see from Matty Ray, he's got Scott Griffiths just behind him, and he's got a bit of a gap to make up to Lachlan Urquio, returning from knee injury and internet issues. So nice to see Lockie back out there.
Absolutely, Lockie had a good run last night. It was ended a little prematurely, but he had a good run up until that incident happened. So he'll be enjoying it out here, running in a good pack. He's got Steve Williams just in front of him. We'll jump back actually to this and have a quick look at it. He's chasing down Steve Williams there. You can see in the 98 entry as well. And Steve is just doing what he normally does, just creeping, just lurking, just making his way up into the top 10. It's a Steve Williams trait, in fact, to just creep inside the top 10 and do something in the last phase of the race. So we'll keep one eye on him just to see if he does what he normally does. Luke Trahair as well. He's currently sitting in 9th position. So he's dropped a few places since qualifying, but no damage currently to the 43 either. So he'll be looking to just position himself well for the end of this race and try and bring that 43 home.
Yeah, be looking to get that car in. Just some news on the Artura motorsport car of Barry Neal. He's had a connection issue, unfortunately, so he might be the first retirement of the night. But sort of didn't bring out any cautions, so some good news for a lot of drivers out there. Bad news for some others, because a few people are going to be banking on a caution to get this race back in their pocket. If it remains green right now, you've got to say it's looking good for Neil Pearson. Neil Pearson at the moment is going to be in the box seat for this race if it remains green towards the end.
Yeah, but of course he's still got to catch Michael Skurlock, who has just blistered away at the front here. He is 4 seconds to the good ahead of Jaden Russell and Ed Foster. And Skurlock here putting in a dominating performance so far. Of course, only just over halfway through the race, but looking good for Skurlock if it remains green to the end.
Well, the thing is, Scully's got to stop again. That's the big thing here. So all of these drivers have got to stop again. Neil Pearson can keep it out. Neil Pearson's on those fresh tyres at the moment, so he's going to gain some good speed. Don't expect to see him setting fastest times, though. He's going to be just pacing it a little bit, not using too much fuel. Andrew Dyson is right on the bubble as well. So Dyson, he is going to be needing... He's going to be right on the bubble if he can make it on fuel, in all honesty. He's going to be very much towards running out of a tank towards the end of the stint. So he might be pushing a little bit harder than some of those drivers around him just to gain up those positions, because he might need a tiny splash and dash to get him to the end.
Good point. I hadn't looked at the fuel numbers there, but you're right. Absolutely spot on, in fact. So we'll see how that goes. Scully's going to have to get a good gap. And then make some hay on some fresh rubber at the end of this race. We did see Dave Douglas last night, just take right-hand tyres with a late caution to try and jump some positions in the caution, and it worked to effect for him because there was a caution period a couple of laps after that, and that helped him push up inside the top 5. So a couple of interesting strategies that could play out as well as we get towards the end of this race.
Yeah, this race is not over by a long shot. There's still a lot that can happen, still a lot that will happen in this race. So keep an eye on this because it's going to start shaking out more towards the end of this one. There's going to be a few different strategies playing out as well, and that's the thing that we love about racing, is when strategies come into play and seeing what people try. Because right now you've got Michael Skurlock sitting at the front, a absolutely brilliant driver out there. He has been fast all night long, but at the moment he's sort of got to think, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get this race win? Because at the moment I don't think I can do it, because I don't have enough of the gap between myself and, say, Neil Pearson. So he might have to come in a little bit earlier than expected to get those fresh tyres, just so he can actually catch up to Pearson, so there's not such a gap as there was before. Because at the moment Pearson is about 26 seconds off of Skurlock. So Skurlock's going to lose 20 seconds in the pit lane on him. So he's going to need to gain 20 seconds over those last remaining laps. So that's the other thing you've got to think about. You've always got to count back from the race and work out how much faster you can go if you can catch that driver ahead of you. So we are very much coming into the latter stages of the race now, as we have had 84 laps under green so far tonight, which is absolutely brilliant. This is what we want to see in racing. As much as huge crashes look spectacular, we don't want to see them in racing. We want to see good green flag racing, and we want to see people trying out the different strategies. See Barry Neal just there passing Michael Skurlock, getting back onto the track. Good to see Barry back out there. He's going to get some points under his belt at least and try and get a finish for the race. So good to see him managing to make it back out there.
Yeah, I was just jumping on there because I saw he jump back in. Edward Foster now in a swamp of other cars. So we've got some of the late pitters there. So Jaeger just going around the outside. And I was just trying to pick up the number there as well, the 231. I think it is Paul Jackson.
We had Philip Worley there as well, so just cut over you. Philip Worley just got caught underneath Foster and just got a little bit of air distortion on him and just went a bit sideways across the tri-oval section. So Worley, having to serve that drive-through penalty, has dropped him down 2 laps, unfortunately. So that cost him dearly, that accident, that mistake into pit lane, because he was looking good for the race, but he almost had a bit of a moment with Foster there.
Yeah, Ed won't like that at all. In the 53 Bridgestone Select entry. So he'll just, as he has done there, just make a little bit of room. There's no point in doing anything there. Of course, he's just got checked up a little bit in that high line as well. So he's just battling away with a few of the cars who are wanting to make an impression on their way back through, because they can. And it's also hurt Jaden Russell, because just getting caught in that pack, and he's about to have it again. He was stuck there behind Norm Clark, who pitted later as well. He's about to get caught up in those cars that just got past Foster. So he'll want to probably let them through, and it's allowed equally Danny G to close up onto the back of Edward Foster as well. So just another one of those factors you've got to contend with here in the ANZCAR Cup Series, and it makes things a little more spicy for us in the booth and you, the viewer.
Yeah, it adds for a little bit more excitement, and as we said, lapped cars, they are going to be racing these guys because it's their job to get past them. There is no issues with passing a guy that's a lap ahead of you. There's no problem passing the leader if you're a couple of laps down, because you are racing for positions, and you've got people that are a lap down, say they're going to be racing to try and be the first car on the lead lap. So if there is a caution, they get that lucky dog, they get that pass, and they can get back on the lead lap for them. So it's all about getting the car working, getting in the right position at the right time as well. We've got 51 laps remaining now, so I'd expect to see some of the drivers who came in for their first stop looking to come in about the next 5 laps, I'd say, just so they got plenty of time towards the end of the race to gain back that time.
And Foster here getting the run on Micklemore. Danny G, my apologies as well for the Mitch Motorsport entry. He's getting a good run on down underneath Foster too. So this is closed. This battle for second right up here. You got Norm Clark there up on the high line. Just probably lost a little bit of time there. And Edward Foster and Jaden Russell make their way back past him. So this battle here heading up for second, third and fourth, I should say. And the guys doing a good job to make their way through the traffic. Spread a little bit now. Again, just that lap traffic just causing line changes there. You can see Danny G getting harassed a little bit by, I think that was Matty Hunter behind him. Didn't quite catch the car. Yes, it was Matty Hunter. So the gap spread a little bit here, but these guys just struggling with the traffic.
Yeah, and what this has done is it's allowed fifth, sixth, and seventh to climb up towards the back of these guys as well. So you've got Hamish Gallagher, Dave Douglas, and Josh Micklemore closing in on this this lead pack. These first. The second, third, and fourth cars there. So this battle is starting to get quite tight for that top spot. Sorry, that second and third spot on the podium at the moment. Skurlock has checked out. He's got a good 5-second lead over Jaden Russell at the moment. But these guys are going to have to come in again. So they've got two options: stick it out as long as they can, which is going to cost them a bit of time, or come in a little bit early, get those fresh tyres on, use that undercut to your advantage a little bit. You're going to suffer a little bit with the overcut, but you're going to have to catch up to Neil Pearson. And that's the thing, is you've got to make up a lot of time and catch up to the back of Pearson, because he's going to be the effective race leader when this all shakes out. You might see Andrew Dyson try and stick it out there as well. Theoretically, he's got a chance, but it's going to be very tricky for him. Kay Donnelly has just pulled the trigger and is coming into pit lane, so he's the first of those guys to go on to the two-stop strategy. So I'd expect to see some more cars coming into pit lane very shortly.
We've just brought that battle up there on the screen for second place, so you can get an idea of the cars that are in this pack. There's three cars there battling for position 2, 3 and 4. You've got the 29, 22nd, 23rd and 24th place runners at the moment in Worley, Jaeger, Otto and Hunter in this pack too, so it really is a bag of marbles at the moment. With three of the guys battling for position at the front of the pack, and in fact the other three battling for 22nd position as well. So battles within battles, that's what we like to see, and good clean racing there from everyone as well.
Dave Douglas pulling the pin. He's coming to pit lane, so he's going to go for that earlier stop, get those fresh tyres on, and I think this is going to cause a lot of other drivers to start thinking about that as well, just because that undercut is so powerful. So I think we're going to see a lot of those drivers now coming into pit lane in the next 3 to 4 laps.
I've just put that pit strategy up on the screen there that you were talking about too, because Josh Micklemore, Luke Trahere, Danny G have just jumped into pit lane as well. Dave Douglas there did he just go with the right hand side tyres there? I didn't see that as I was looking at these stint lengths just to confirm the points that you were making before. Maybe Carl, if you can have a quick look at that for us. Andrew Dyson there, you can see that yellow line. 69 laps on the first stint, 26 laps second stint. Michael Skurlock comes into pit lane now, so a 20 lap positive differential to Andrew Dyson, and we're going to see Neil Pearson come up into this figure as well on the screen, and that will further emphasise the point that Carl makes about him being able to get home on the strategy that he's implemented. So that visual there just shows you how much further they went on that first stint and how it's going to benefit them late here. Pearson there just popping into the screen, so it's 1 lap further on, but he's 25 laps down on these tyres and more importantly on the fuel.
Yeah, that's it. It's touch and go for Dyson. He's going to be very tight on fuel. He's going to have to basically be saving as he drives along to get there, because we saw if he managed to make it one more lap, he would have been fine. But he had to make it just that little bit earlier. So it's just going to affect him a little bit here. So he might be in a little bit of trouble. As I say, I think the person that's going to pay off best for is going to be Neil Pearson at the moment. He's looking like he is going to be in control of this one if we remain green. Dave Douglas did take both tyres. Was that Jaden Russell having a moment, I think?
Yeah, we had Jaden Russell there just come up with a crash.
coming out of pit lane, he's actually lit the tyres up on the exit. It's one of those mistakes that looks very silly when you look at it and you think about it, but he's just put his foot down a little bit too quickly, and that's cost him dearly. So big moment there. Luckily, he didn't go onto the track fully, but he is going to get... he might cop a penalty for that, maybe. No, I think he should be okay, sorry. But he will have lost a lot of time in that one, and it's an easy thing to do because these cars have got a lot of horsepower underneath them, and on cold tyres it's very easy to lose that back end.
So I'm just having a look down through the field here to try and get a sense of where everyone's going to work out, to give you some more information at home as well. So I think Carl's spot on there with a call about Neil Pearson being borderline, which means we're looking at everyone else. Hamish Gallagher dives into pit lane now. Andrew Dyson resumes the lead of this race, and it's Steve Williams. He's going to have to drop in. So basically looking at everyone back to Michael Skurlock having to drop in again. So Skurlock will probably punch up into second position potentially. Might get ahead of Andrew Dyson if Dyson has to stop. Dyson will probably have to run the gauntlet or fuel save. So there's a big gap there for him to make up, but a good strategy call here from the DPR guys. We're going to see how it plays out over the remaining 39 laps here.
Yeah, I think it's going to pay off well. As I said, I think we'll see Dyson choking across the line a little bit. I think he's going to struggle the most out of them. I think Pearson is going to be safe, but time will tell. And of course, all it takes is one car having a moment, spinning off on the track and causing a yellow flag to appear, and that strategy will be ruined for those guys.
Yeah, Edward Foster, Josh Mickelmore making good pace at the moment, making their way back through the field here. He's up on the back of Steve Williams, I believe it is. Yes, no, it's not. My apologies there. A wrong call. It's actually the 41 entry of
Andrew Dyson.
Andrew Dyson. Sorry, my apologies. I wasn't even looking right at the top of the list, but it is 41 entry of Andrew Dyson there. So lapping themselves, and they're making good time.
And that's crucial for those guys because now they've unlapped themselves. If a caution comes out, they are safe. So this is one of the big things as well, is you want to be on that lead lap so that if that yellow flag flies, you're not going to drop, you're not going to stay a lap down because it's only the first car lap down that gets the wave around. So if you are, at the moment, we've got Luke Trahere, the first car that's lapped down. If you're Nigel Patton, who's sitting just behind Luke there, you wouldn't get the wave around, so your night would be a little bit harder to work with. So getting around that leader is crucially important, so it can save your race if that caution flag does fly, so that you are on that lead lap and then you can get up there with the lead pack. We've got 36 laps remaining. Andrew Dyson leads, Neil Pearson second, Scott Griffiths in third position, Justin Witcher in fourth, and Michael Skurlock in fifth. So we're going to see Scott Griffiths coming in relatively soon. Justin Witcher is going to be an interesting one, who is actually coming in right now, I think. So I was about to say he might be sticking out there a little bit longer, but no, he's coming in right now.
Spot on. So that means that, just looking back through here, and it is Dave Douglas. Again, we've said a lot about the Double D tonight. He is our biggest mover of the night so far. 10 positions up, having done a double stop as well. So he will take over from Scott Griffiths and Perry Anastakis as our fastest movers when they do pit in, because they will need to. Particularly Scott Griffiths, he's been out on the track since lap 47. So he's done a mammoth stint. He's going to be struggling for fuel any tick off the clock. He's going to have to bring the number 5 entry in. You can see him there struggling for pace, as well as the freshly tired 98 entry of Steve Williams, the DPR entry there, just blows by him with the fresh rubber. But Griffiths, a good job there. I didn't realise he'd been out for that long as he comes into pit lane now.
Yeah, Scott Griffiths will be kicking himself that he couldn't get that fuel mileage earlier on in the stint. because if he could get that working out for him earlier on, then he would be sitting rather pretty at the moment. But it has worked out kind of well for him. He was just hoping for that late caution there. It's going to lose him quite a lot of positions now, but he will be on much fresher tyres when he comes out of pit lane, so he will be very racy towards the end of the race. And that's the other thing, of course, is you're going to be much racier. So right now you've got Skurlock showing his true pace. Skurlock is switched on and he is absolutely flying at the moment. He's 17 seconds off the leader, so he's got to make up those 17 seconds to win this race now. He's currently around about a second and a half faster than Andrew Dyson and Neil Pearson, so he is catching him up. Now, I think that Dyson won't make it, so his main goal is going to be Neil Pearson, and he is catching Pearson quite quickly. So Skurlock will be getting onto the back of Neil Pearson relatively shortly. So this strategy for DPR, it's kind of working out, but if those guys can start catching up to them, then that strategy will not pay off, and they'll probably think about coming into pit lane to chuck some new tyres on just so that they can get somewhere towards the end of the race, or just hope for a caution flag to come out so that they can strap some new boots on there and be competitive with the rest of the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Kenny Rogers, the gambler, comes to mind here. That's what they've done. They've rolled the dice. I think Neil Pearson may also be exposed a little bit here with 30 laps still to go to not only Skurlock but Dave Douglas and Edward Foster, just depending on how he has to manage the rest of his race. Dyson with that gap is just close here. It's fuel's an issue for him, pace is potentially an issue for him as well, but we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be a great call if they can run this one out and end up with the win.
Yeah, if Dyson can get this win, that will be a very epic drive from him. I think Pearson he's basically seen the hangman coming towards him as Michael Skurlock is closing up. He's just behind Ruben Phelps at the moment. Phelps a lap down as it stands, so he's trying to get back onto the lead lap. Mr. Ruben, he's actually 2 laps down, sorry for Ruben. But he's going to start closing up towards Neil Pearson. You can see Skurlock now just closing in. Those fresh tyres are the death knell for Neil Pearson right now. He can just see what's going to happen coming up so quickly, and there's nothing you can do about it right here. The best option you've got is just to not fight it out too much. Just let that car get past and continue on with your race, because it's just going to cost you time if you fight that position too hard. And if you're fuel saving as well, it's just going to mean you're going to end up using up a bit too much fuel. And you can see there Neil just easing out of it. He's not going to fight that position too hard. He knows what's going to happen if he does, so he just lets it go through and does not think too much of it.
Yeah, just maintenance mode there. Dave Douglas under pressure here from Edward Foster as well. Foster's closed up on the back of him. It's 2 tenths between them now. Coming a little bit surged down through the field as well. Matty Hunter, Joshua Carroll-Walden, they're coming together shortly as well. That gap has been closing, along with Matty Raymond, Kate Donnelly behind them, as we see Scott Griffiths and Philip Worley just getting into one another a little bit there. A bit of damage to the left-hand front corner there of Worley's entry. Scott Griffiths getting the way through there, and he's on fresh rubber.
Foster is making the move on Dave Douglas. He's going to go down underneath. He's going down on Dave and going to make that move stick on him. Edward Foster going down on Double D, Dave Douglas, and making that one stick.
Wow. A good move there from Ed Foster as well. He's got that one done. So 53 moves up into P4 now. The question is, can he catch Neil Pearson? At the moment, he's around about 3/4 of a second faster per lap than Pearson. He's got 3.5 seconds to make up. He's got time to do it, but those tyres will plateau. That gap will extinguish itself, and then the question remains, how hard is Pearson saving fuel to get to the end of this race?
Yeah, that's going to be the big one. Something might have just happened to Lachlan Urquio there. I think he's just gone up into the wall. I think himself and Raymond Yeager have just had a bit of a coming together. And they've just had a little bit of a coming together there, and that's just pushed Lockie up into the wall. So he's got some damage on the front of that car now. So that's not what Lockie would have wanted. That's going to be a bit of a struggle for him. He's got Jaden Russell behind him. So that's Jaden Russell in front of him. Sorry, Josh Carroll-Walden is next car. So JCW is going to be catching him relatively quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just looking here at Dyson, trying to get a gauge. Somehow he's now 10 seconds to the good, so it's dropped back a little bit there. Just in a bit of traffic again here. We know how that can affect, particularly if he's trying to save tyres and fuel. And he will be saving fuel, there's no question about it. So now just down to 10 seconds between him and Skurlock, and that just continues to plummet as I watch it now, 9.8 seconds. So the 3/4 of a second continues for Skurly as he closes down. Good English there, as he closed down on the back of the 041 entry of Andrew Dyson.
Yeah, Skurlock's going to catch Dyson in probably about 16 laps, I'd say. So it's going to get close towards the end. So Dyson's just going to have about 4 laps to sort of go and hold it out there, really. So he's got an opportunity right now if he can make that fuel last, and that is it's a big if right now. That's the thing. It's going to be very, very close for him. Neil Pearson's still sitting in 3rd. He's got Foster closing in on him relatively quickly, as well as Dave Douglas, Josh Mickelmore, Hamish Gallagher. And that group of cars is closing in pretty quickly towards him, so it could be a big moment for Neil Pearson that's going to cost him a lot of positions if they can catch up to him, and I would say that they will, although Pearson is setting lap times just a couple of tenths slower, so he's not that far off the pace in all honesty, but you will find Foster catching him in probably about 4 or 5 laps now.
Yeah, that's the field's dropped back towards Pearson, so he's been doing that sort of mid-31 for a while now, but what's happened is that Foster and Douglas have dropped out of the 30s, so has Skurlock, and so they're dropping back to the pace of the DPR boys here, so he might be able to hold out here. Obviously, Pearson now running a little bit in no man's land. Foster's going to get the benefit of the drag from, or the tow, I should say, from Ruben Phelps in front of him. Yeah, Ruben Phelps in front of him, so he'll get that benefit. That'll give him the tow. You can see it, they're already working. He's catching up, and that'll give him a little bit of a push towards the back of Neil Pearson. He'll get that gap down under the second mark. He's got it there now, in fact, so he's going to get the benefit of the draft.
It's going to be a painful couple of laps for Neil Pearson once this group catches him, because he's just going to drop all the way back down behind Danny G. What's Danny G? Danny G's dropped way back, actually. Sorry, something's happened to Danny G there. I think he's copped a speeding penalty or something, because he's dropped all the way down back to 28th, but he's in that pack. So Neil Pearson's going to drop way back behind Hamish Gallagher. So he's going to drop back to around about 7th position once this group catches him, but that's going to happen in very short order.
And just while we were talking there, Dave Douglas getting up into Josh Mickelmore, which is why he's dropped back. Didn't touch, but got real close. He had to pull out of it, and as he did so, Mickelmore took off, and that allowed the Hamish Gallagher, my apologies, that allowed the number 5 entry of Scott Griffiths to close up on Douglas. Had to do a little bit of management there as well, just to hold it out as he lost a bit of momentum. So that's affected Douglas and has allowed Josh Mickelmore to get up into this battle here as Foster gets the move done on Neil Pearson. Josh Mickelmore on the back of this one too, so that took a little less time than we expected, and Edward Foster moves the 53 entry up into 3rd place.
And now comes Josh Mickelmore. As I said, it's going to be a painful couple of laps for Pearson, because he's not going to be able to use much of that car to defend. He'll do his best to throw the odd block here and there, but you can only do so much blocking on the racetrack, and you can only use so much of it as well. As you can see, Pearson just positioning that car perfectly to make a very large DPR car on the track, but you can only do so much on those old tyres, and that's all she wrote. Pearson losing out to Mickelmore. Dave Douglas going to be the next one coming up on him, so Double D is going to be coming up very, very quickly. He's got Scott Griffiths on his inside. Scott Griffiths, of course, on those fresher tyres, will have a nice easy time getting down around Dave if he chooses to, but Dave's going to make this move on Pearson relatively quickly, and then you'll see Hamish Gallagher and Luke Trahair catching up to Neil as well relatively soon.
Up at the front, Andrew Dyson still out by 6.8 seconds over Michael Skurlock. That gap has stabilised but Skurlock is still quicker, about 4/10. Just not every lap now, so it's we've got to watch this one count down. Edward Foster, Josh Micklemore are going to have a little bit of a battle for third position, you feel?
Yeah, I think that battle's going to be nice and heated. Meanwhile, Dave Douglas has got a very fast charging Hamish Gallagher right on his tail. He's got Hamish Gallagher on his Taylor Swift, who's coming in. Oh, sorry, that was a terrible one.
Was
I feel bad for that one.
Forced extra word in there.
Dave Douglas listening out to Hamish. I'm going to be quiet now. I feel guilty for that one.
Well, you could have even said something like, Hamish Gallagher in the 13 here moves by fairly swiftly, or something along those lines, but you've decided to try and jam an extra word into Taylor Swift there, so we'll just move on from that one, but he gets the job done there. Hamish Gallagher moves up. He's going to try and now make mincemeat of Neil Pearson. But I tell you what, Scott Griffith's doing well there as well in the 5 entry. He is trying to get past Pearson now. He's going to drive right by him with that fresh rubber on, you would imagine, and allow Gallagher here to probably get up into 5th position. So the closeout of this one could be really tasty. We've got 12 to go still, and the number 13, Mitch Motorsport entry there, sponsored by Tate, is doing a really, really good job. And he's going to close this one out strongly, you feel?
Yeah, I expect to see some strong runs from Hamish there. He's always good with that one. The gap at the front is down to 5.9 seconds, so Skurlock is catching still, but not as much as he was before. He's still about 2/10 quicker, so he's still in with a shout of catching Dyson right now, but it is going to be very close. Dyson, of course, has got that question mark about fuel over his head right now, because it's just very touch and go if he can make it. We're pretty sure Pearson's going to be able to make it, as we've got Gallagher. Oh, Gallagher just getting a little bit of a rub from Pearson there. So Pearson and Gallagher just making contact. That's pushed Pearson up a little bit higher. He almost touches the wall, but Gallagher is going to make the move. There's no bad blood between those two drivers now. Dave Douglas tries to make the move on Pearson as well. Can't quite make it done this time round, but it's only a matter of time for Dave Douglas to get down underneath, under Pearson's car and get that 6th position.
Yeah, you're going to expect that to happen. Pearson now starting to struggle a little bit here. We did just jump on board briefly there with Dyson, and you could hear he is fuel saving. So 10 laps to go. Dyson knows that he is going to have to save here. That's going to help close that gap down even further between himself and Michael Skurlock. The question is, will it allow Edward Foster potentially make a pass for 2nd place as well? He's certainly not going to catch Skurlock. As you can see there, Dave Douglas getting the move down on Pearson, and Pearson just maintaining that line. He's just got to really do the best he can at the moment with what he's got underneath him, because Dave Douglas now fighting away down on the inside. You'd expect to see as well that Danny G will go with him, albeit that's not for position, and Luke Trujillo will come through as well. So Pearson here, the potential to drop potentially out of that top 10.
Yeah, Douglas just getting a little bit loose on his tail there, and that cost him a bit of time. Then, because they're running so close with each other, it's just affecting the aero a little bit, and probably Dave is having to run a little bit of a tighter line than he wants to, getting a little bit more heat on that right rear as well. So it's causing him to lose time. You can see Luke Trujillo just circling at the moment. He's right behind these two. So Trujillo is really pressing down. There's always contact between Pearson and Douglas. You just see that. Just that little bit of contact, and yeah, so a bit of contact that's got Pearson up into the wall. He managed to keep it going, so no caution, but that's given Luke Trujillo that position. Now Ryan Jones is going to be trying to close down on that one. Meanwhile, Jason Martin is right on the back of Ryan Jones. Jason Martin having a good recovery drive. We saw him right down at the back of the field earlier on, but he has been working his way quietly through the field, as we often see with Jason Martin, and he is right on the back of Ryan Jones at the moment, battling it out for P9 and P10. Foster, meanwhile, he has still got Josh Micklemore behind him, but there's a little bit of a gap. Hamish Gallagher's got a little bit of a gap as well, so there's some gaps out there forming, but the gap is dropping at the front, but not as fast as Skurlock would have wanted it. He needs that gap to start dropping quicker so he can catch up to Dyson and hopefully take out this win for Skurlock.
With only 6 laps to go, though, you'd have to figure here Dyson doing a good job. Fuel is that question. Is he going to make it home on the fuel numbers that he's put into that car? and we heard him there. He was saving a little bit. That's going to cost him some time. He's got to balance that fuel-saving effort with making sure that he maintains the gap wide enough to Skurlock behind him. We've got 5 to go here now. Might just jump on board with him as we get down this straight, see how early, and he jumps out real early out of the gas there. So he is saving. He's not clutching yet, so he knows potentially that he just needs to drive to a little bit of a number to get it home from here and manage that gap. It's down at 3.5 seconds now, though. If Skirley, he's really saving. If Skirley gets down into that draft, he is mincemeat Dyson, and he's trying to do a battle here. I'm right behind him here. I want him to get his first win in the Cup, but in Oval, that is, I should say, because he has, of course, taken out a track victory, a circuit victory, but he's got 4 to go. He's got to manage that fuel, and the gap is plummeting.
Yeah, that's it. But he has got a 3-second gap still. There's only 3 laps remaining. So you've got to say Dyson is doing as much as he possibly can at the moment. Dave Douglas has got a fast-charging Luke Traher underneath him at the moment. The racing is still going on down the track. This battle is still not over. So still a lot to go in this race. Neil Pearson, meanwhile, has dropped down behind Ryan Jones and Jason Martin, so he's dropped down into 10th position at the moment. Jaden Russell is the next car on the list to see if he can get past Pearson. But some good racing down towards the back at the moment between Traher and Douglas. They are side by side constantly here.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 to go, so we're going to jump back up to the front here. Just keep an eye on this gap now. 2.7 seconds between Dyson and Skurlock, with 2 to go. It's halfway through, so we're going to get the white flag next time around. You'd like to think that he's going to be on the money here. If it's got fuel, he's going to win it. That's where he's got to get to. So he's going to be holding his breath for 32 seconds here to make sure that the 041 DPR entry of Andrew Dyson does bring it home. Simrigs.com, of course, they've got end of financial year sales on at the moment. Good plug for them, with Dyson using their equipment as well. So jump on there if you want to have a look, but taking nothing away. This has been a fantastic drive from him, well managed, and he's also managed to run out with the tyres here. We saw the effect that's had on Pearson, but you think he's going to bring it home here. Andrew Dyson, congratulations on your first Oval win here in the ANZCAR Cup Series for the DPR Simrigs.com entry 041. Andrew Dyson takes home the win tonight. It'll be Michael Skurlock behind him in the 350 entry, with Edward Foster coming home in 3rd in the Bridgestone Select entry there.
Dave Douglas and Luke Traher were side by side when they crossed the line. There was nothing between them, but Luke Traher takes that position from Dave Douglas. But
2 100s.
That's it, nothing between them. What a great drive from Andrew Dyson. He had to make an extra lap of fuel there to the end to get through it. I don't think we're going to see many burnouts from Dyson tonight, because I think he's going to be running on vapours. We've seen a couple of fuel races this week. We saw it at Talladega. We saw it last night in the Xfinity series. I think Dyson's going to come in and get a bit of fuel in that car so he can actually celebrate. But yeah, he's absolutely out of fuel. And I think that's it. He's going to have to do a donut on the grass, because that's the only way he's going to get one. So Dyson, what a brilliant first victory on an oval. That was incredibly well driven, and he worked out the maths perfectly for that one.
Could not have managed it any better if he tried running out of fuel on the parade lap around there. So about half a lap left, so litre, maybe a little bit more. He's got a milk carton left in that one, and done a great job to bring the 041 home. That's going to have good championship implications for him as well. He had a really strong involvement in the circuit segment of this series. There's more circuit racing to come, so this positions him well, taking out an oval track victory as well. He'll be pumped.
Yeah, he's only the second driver this year. Only the third driver this year to get more than 2 wins. That's his 3rd victory in the Cup Series. Neil Pearson, of course, sitting on 3, and Michael Skurlock sitting on 4 wins this year. So Skurlock still has the most wins at the moment. But this is going to help Dyson getting in towards the chase, at least, because he was sitting in 10th when coming into this race. This is really going to help him out championship-wise. So let's run through those results as they stand. So Dyson first, Skurlock second, with Edward Foster 3rd. Josh Mickelmore in 4th, with Hamish Gallagher 5th. 6th was Luke Traher. Dave Douglas 7th. 8th was Ryan Jones. Jason Martin 9th. and Jaden Russell in 10th position. Biggest gainer in the race was Matty Raymond down in 15th position, gaining 13 positions in that race. Let's run through the rest of the field quickly. Neil Pearson 11th, 12th Joshua Carroll-Walden, Stephen Williams in 13th, 14th for Lachlan Oakio, Matty Raymond 15th, 16th for Kate Donnelly, 17th for Witcher, 18th for Hunter, 19th for Anastakis, Griffith in 20th, 21st for Jaeger, Jackson 22nd, 23rd for Norman Clark, Worley 24th, 25th for Otto, Patton 26th, 27th for Danny G, Ruben Phelps 28th, 29th for Barry Neal, and Mirko Dortnak down in 30th. The only car to retire. He was out there as well. So we had all the cars make it across the line tonight. A couple of them a little bit further down than they would want to, but every car finished tonight, so we had no retirements at all.
I can't remember the last time that's happened, if at all, for my short broadcasting career for the Cup. But we did get to see green to green flag tonight, so fantastic racing.
Yeah, brilliant driving from all the drivers tonight. We saw a couple of good saves as well, but that just shows the competition here tonight. It's a very tricky track here at Nashville as well. First time racing on it for all of these guys in the Cup Series, for ANZCAR at least, but a lot of these drivers, it's their first time out there. Track temperatures were hot, but these drivers kept cool under pressure tonight, so really good driving from all of them. So we will just wait for the drivers to mosey on up to the green room, and then we'll grab them down for a little bit of an interview. But Andrew Dyson doing a great job there of using the fuel to his advantage, making that strategy pay off. Neil Pearson getting a little bit unlucky towards the end there, and Philip Worley, of course, he would have been up there as well had it not been for that mistake into pit lane. So another strong performance from DPR. So we'll start off with our third place finisher. Welcome back to the booth in the Cup Series, Edward Foster.
Thanks very much.
Good to have you back up here, mate. It's been a little bit of time since we last spoke to you in the Cup Series.
Yeah, I was starting to think I'd never get back here. It feels like a win, honestly. I'm absolutely thrilled. I didn't expect it, and I'm absolutely stoked. I feel like I just won. It's great.
It's good to hear. A strong run for you tonight. Made 6 positions, started down in 9th, finished up in 3rd, of course, which is always a nice place to finish. We've seen this sort of just not having the best Cup season so far, but it looks like tonight was a bit of a change around for you.
Not having the best, to put it mildly. I think it's probably the worst season I've ever had of any series in my life ever, the way this has gone so far. But I've had a couple of P3s previously, but this is actually my first P3 on a paved oval. The other ones were dirt and a road course, if you can believe that. So it just kind of shows how ugly it's been so far. But anyway, managed to get it done tonight. Had decent speed. I mean, in that first stint, I was up behind Danny, and I felt like I was quicker than him. I just could not find a way past. You know, he was doing everything he had to do to keep it on the track and keep it in front of me, which is all fair game. And then once I cleared him in the pit stops, I pulled up behind Russell. And, same sort of deal. It's just so hard to overtake, even if you did have that bit of a pace advantage. It was so easy to overheat the tyres and lose that grip, and it'd take a couple of laps to get them back, and then you'd have another go. And if they tried to fight you at all, chances are you'd overheat the rubber and you wouldn't be able to do anything. So then he gave me a bit of a gift by spinning coming out of the pit lane. Thankfully, it didn't bring out a caution. So that was P2, and I was just saying to Dyson before, I was P2, and then, all the pit stops sort of shook out towards the end, and I was P3, and I was saying to the guys, who's leading? And they're like, oh, Dyson's in front. I'm like, there is absolutely no way he's going to make this work on a one-stop. But credit to him, he did it. He did what all the rest of us couldn't, made that work on a one-stop and won the race to boot. So congratulations to him, and obviously Skirley, and had a bit of a battle there with Danny G, Josh Mickelmore, guys like that. So, yeah, it was a really cool evening.
Yeah, look, good. We got some good battles out there. Just one last thing I wanted to ask you about. Returning to Nashville Superspeedway, I imagine you'd be quite happy coming back to one of the more classic tracks in the series.
I'm old school, as you know. So I'll race any of these tracks that are old. They've been around a while. I don't know. There's just something about them, whether it's the worn out surface or the bumps or just the unfinished nature of them. They're not they're not the sort of sanitized autodromes of today. You know, they're very much built where they were. There was only limited amounts that could be done with the terrain when they put them down. And I just think circuits like that have so much more character. They're so much more fun to drive, and they're also a bit nicer to me. At least in this case they are. So, yeah, I love the old school tracks. This one, Darlington, a couple of the road courses as well. So, yeah, I didn't really know what to expect when I came here, but it was an absolute pleasure. I love the racing. Both the Xfinity and the Cup, results notwithstanding, the driving was really enjoyable, sort of combined with the fact that we were running the high horsepower, low grip package tonight, which we should be running everywhere just quietly. But anyway, yeah, loved it.
Congratulations on P3. It's good to have you back up here in the booth. And as usual, the usual shout out and love to sponsors.
Yeah, of course. So it's been a while since I managed to give these guys any kind of love at all on the airwaves, so I made the most of it. But of course, we've got Bridgestone Select, Race Magazine, Two Fat Blokes, Ferguson Group Media, and AJ Insurance Services as well. So, yeah, thrilled to be able to give those guys a bit of a shout out too. So, yeah, it's really cool.
Thank you so much, Edward Foster of Natari Autosport. Congratulations on that P3.
Thank you.
Next up, we will say Dewanard Da to Mr. Michael Skurlock.
I don't know what that means, mate, but hello.
Oh, you have a Welsh dragon on your car. You should understand it, mate.
Oh, was it? Okay, I know what you mean then. I get it.
Congratulations on that P2 finish. We saw you pushing very hard there to try and catch it up to Mr. Fuel in his boots, Andrew Dyson, but couldn't quite make it work at the end.
No, I was getting excited there as well. I was getting sweaty. But, no, I mean, I started racing and I didn't even ever thought about doing a one-stopper. I didn't think it was possible, eh? Like it said I needed to add heaps of fuel, so I just went, nah, no one can do that, and just didn't even think about it. And then after we went through the cycle, I was going, what's going on here? You can't make that, surely. And then kudos to them, man. Obviously they practiced and realised they could do that, because that's a big call if you don't know if it's going to work or not. But he made it work and he was doing well. Kept a pretty good speed too. I was only just like half a second quicker after about 10 laps, and then it was, 3/10 quicker a lap, so I wasn't catching that quick. But at the end there, it was getting a bit close. I thought I had him, mate. I thought he'd run out.
We were watching out for that because we saw you closing at a vast rate of knots. I imagine when you saw that Dyson and DPR were going to manage that sort of single stop strategy and it looked like it might work, were you hoping for a caution to come out?
Early on, I did. After their first pit stop, before they unlapped themselves, I would have loved a yellow. But no, not as the run kept going. That would have just brought everyone else into it, and you know what I mean. Restarts can be disastrous, so I'd rather have just lay my cards and play them as they may, mate, and see where I ended up. And second's good, man. I'm happy with second.
Well, that's the next thing I wanted to ask you, of course. The finishing P2 is good for you tonight because you've finished a fair bit ahead of some of your rivals in the regular season for the championship. You're sitting up there at the top at the moment. You still feeling confident for maybe taking that one out?
Oh, mate, doesn't matter. I took last year's out, forgot about that, and I didn't get anything for winning that, so you know what I mean? It didn't really do much to me. So I don't really care, to be honest. I just want to have fun all the time. And normally if you do well, you have fun. But I wouldn't mind getting the most race wins. And now that Dyson won that one, it's going to be hard. There's a couple more road races to come, I think. So, and Neil's right up there with the race wins as well. So it's going to be tight on that one.
Yeah, you only have the one win over them at the moment. They are just one win behind you now. One thing I wanted to ask you as well is there was a little bit of damage to the front of the car. How did that one happen?
I gave Daiso a little love tap at the start. I didn't mean to. We just charged. Obviously, I'm not sure if he knows that he doesn't have to wait till the green at the start of the race or not. But if you don't know that, you can go whenever you want. So really, you lost your advantage that you get for getting pole position, really. So because you waited for the start, I would have got a good start right behind you, and then obviously everyone takes the corners a bit different, and I just ran in there really hot, really. Bumped into him.
I'm a bit silly because I saw all this red on the bonnet and I was thinking, that must be Neil. Yeah, they said they were starting on the bottom lane. That must be Neil. I was all flustered because I was starting P1. Trust me, that was all over the place.
You had the Welsh Dragon coming at you, mate. Look out.
The Welsh Ninja called you out. No, congratulations on that P2, mate, and lovely new paint job as well.
Yeah, mate. Thank Mirko for that one. He's always good at whipping them up.
No, nice work. And before I let you go, of course, usual love and shout out to sponsors.
Yeah, mate. The BMX Bandits, mate. That's a big shout out to them. What did I say last night? Yeah, having fun. That's a good one. Shout out to having fun. Not many to go now. Hula hooping, mate. I gave that a go the other day. That's a bit underrated, that. Bring back hula hooping, mate. That's a good workout.
All right, we heard it here first, hula hooping. Put your investments into hula hooping for the future, because that is going to be the newest sport. Congratulations on that, P2, Scully. We'll catch you again in the booth soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And thank you for putting the stream on. It's always good.
You're always welcome. So we'll fed up finally to the winner of the race, DPR driver, Mr. Andrew Dyson, taking out your first victory on the oval in the ANZCAR series. Congratulations.
Oh yeah, thanks, man. Good to get that one off the back, I guess. Good stuff.
It's been a long time coming. I mean, you've shown some really good pace out there, and tonight you showed you had pace as well as the ability to save fuel like none other.
A long time coming, yeah, maybe, but like as the season's gone on, I think myself, a couple of other boys have been getting faster and faster and learning more and more. So probably more this like latter half of the season, I suppose it's been we've been getting closer to W's, but yeah, with fuel saving, got a shout out to Yoda, Neil Pearson for the strat there. He done the research and he came up with a bit of a strat, and luckily I started a little further up and managed to make it work. But no, thanks Yoda for that one. Good stuff.
Just a quick question on the strategy there. Did you come in maybe one lap too early? Did it make it a little bit harder towards the end, or were you just completely out of fuel early on in that stint?
Not really. Like end of, what was it, 70? Was it the end of lap 69 or the end of lap 70 I came in, which was about
69.
Oh, it was 69, wasn't it? Oh, that's a bit of a bust up. I didn't mean that. So no wonder it was harder to save fuel in the second half of the race. I thought, gee, this sucks. I didn't have any tow off anyone. Like the first half of the race, I had tow off Skurlock, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is grouse, man. But he was going quick, so I'm trying to half go with him. And then the second half of the race, I'm like, oh, why is it so much harder to save fuel? Like, I'm not going to make it, man. This is ridiculous. And well, that explains that. I had no idea.
Yeah, because I was sort of watching everyone around you, and I saw Wally and Pearson stay out that extra lap, and it sort of, I was just thinking, oh, it's going to be tight for you now. But you made it work in the end. Really, really, well, just a fantastic drive. And you wouldn't know it was your first win on an oval, in all honesty. You made that one look very professional.
Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah, like, look, everyone was super awesome tonight. You know, that whole green flag run. Like, congratulations to all the drivers tonight for starters, because like that green flag run, I don't think we've had a full green race in Cup, or I haven't anyway personally. So that's awesome. So I think everyone else out there is making me look good, to be honest. Like, I mean, without the green flag, who knows what would happen? So if there was a yellow here and there, you know, we could have got screwed over. Scully could have got on top. Maybe everyone else could have got screwed over if it was the wrong time for everyone else. So no, credit to all the drivers tonight. Good stuff.
Absolutely. And, well, as we were saying before, this is third victory in the Cup Series, so you're up there equal to Neil Pearson at the moment. You're one behind Skurley. Are you looking to try and beat him in overall victories this year?
I don't know about that. We'll see what happens. You know, there's plenty of circle tracks he's a gun at, and he's pretty good on the road courses too. You never know what can happen. So, yeah, I'm certainly not counting on getting the most wins. No way.
And one last thing as well, I just want to ask as well, of course, because we heard from you before, looking at getting yourself locked into the chase, and well, you're looking good at the moment for that one. Taking out the third victory, you were sitting in 10th position when we came into this race, so this is only going to help your chase ambitions.
Yeah, a heap of points at the circle track helps. I've been aiming to try and get top 10s or push up to top 5s if I can on the circles to just get as many points as I can to try and I guess solidify me place in the 10 and then have a heap of fun with the chase at the end of the season, because that'd be pretty cool, I reckon.
No, congratulations on the win tonight, and congratulations on a great season as well. You've been absolutely killing it out there. So the usual thing I finish off with, love and shout out to your sponsors, mate.
Yeah, thanks, dude. Southwell Lifts and Hoist, Benmax Mechanical, Betsmart Racing Service, MP Designs, and Simrigs.com. Thanks to you guys at FGM for putting on the broadcast, and thanks to the broadcast sponsor, I think it's AJ Insurance Services, if I can remember off the top of my head. Thanks to all the boys full credit to the boys at DPR. Cannot go through an interview without dropping at least one full credit to the boys. And thanks to you guys for commentating on the broadcast and having all the kind things to say during the race that I'm sure you did, or maybe you hated me at some stage, but either way, I don't care. Love your work.
You're always welcome, and thank you for giving us a great race to call. Congratulations again, Andrew Dyson, for DPR on that brilliant victory.
No worries. Thanks again, guys. And again, congrats to all the drivers tonight. Awesome effort to go green flag the whole way.
Very much so. Stuart, green to green, we don't get them too often, but they are very appreciated when they come. That race was killer on strategy. That was a very interesting race to go, and DPR absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, well, it opens up conversations, doesn't it, amongst the drivers about whether or not they test these types of strategies out in the week leading up to the race. Because, as Skirley touched on there, no one else thought it was possible. Everyone probably thought that Dyson was going to run out at the end there. We certainly were questioning pitting on lap 69 and thought that the only person who was safe was Pearson. And Dyson ended up getting home there by around about half a lap. As you said, obviously the green flag run helps a big way to that, with Skirley having a really good pace throughout the night, but taking nothing away from Andrew Dyson. The strategy the DPR boys came up with there, a fantastic finish. And first green to green oval for the season. Good to get one here, because we, to be brutally honest, thought it might have been a long night before we got into it tonight. So, but plenty of close battles right throughout the pack, as people will see on the replay.
Yeah, that's it. And we hope you enjoyed the race. As always, big thank you to all of you that joined us. We'll be back soon, of course. We've got the truck series coming back next week, and that will be at Michigan for 80 laps. We have, of course, the Thunder series, the Xfinity cars on Wednesday nights, and we will be heading to the Triangle of Pocono, which will also be the Cup race next time out. So the Pocono doubleheader for Xfinity and Cup, so that will be one to look forward to for sure. It's going to be an exciting race. We look forward to having you there. Any last thoughts on this one, Stuart?
No, what a great race. I've really enjoyed it here at Nashville. It's been really, really good running for the series. 2 cracking races back-to-back, with the Xfinity race last night and this race again tonight here, keeping us on the edge right until the end of the race. So, again, echoing Dyson's thoughts tonight. Great driving from all the drivers across both of those nights, and looking forward to getting back into it next week.
Yeah, we can't wait to see you all next week for some more great racing on the ovals. It's been a good week so far. We've had some brilliant finishes to the races. 3 very different races, of course. Talladega to Nashville. It's been a great week for all of us. And as always, big thank you to all of you again. And from FGMeCast, your e-place for pace, we will see you all again next time.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and thanks very much, Carl.